There's preview show. It's back for the new season. Now we've opted out of Europe, John. We took the
Opted
decision
out.
that we no longer wanted to participate.
It's not a
So
relationship we wish to pursue.
exactly, yeah, with the referendum, and that's that. So we are we're now free on a Friday. We're not having to do phone-ins on a Friday. That was last night, and if you haven't seen it already or listened to it, I would definitely recommend giving it a bash. It was a good one last night. Really enjoyed it, which is funny because we never really had much of a game to talk about with us not playing last weekend. Martin's joined already. Martin says, "Evening, gents. Hi, Martin. Hi, Chris, as well as his afternoon, fellas." John, we're looking at something a wee bit different for the preview show this season. So last season, if you cast your mind back, we did some screen work. It was like a visual feast, wasn't it? We would
Oh
have
yeah, yeah.
a
A feast for
PowerPoint.
the eyes.
Aye, PowerPoint ready. We would have the team lineups. We would look at the form guide. Um, what was the other thing that we looked at? I can't mind. Form guide, and then we would go
Form
into
guide,
predictions.
lineups. Did we get into? I don't think we got into XG, but I think there was maybe the form guide is where I'm mistaken the stats, the analysis work that we were doing.
Yeah. But we're going a bit more casual this season. A
Bit more
bit
laid
more,
back.
a bit more like actually a chat about what do you think will happen in the game rather than trying to be fucking match of the day about it. Because we're no
Aye.
match of the day. We're barely sports scene. In fact, I don't even know if we reached the heights of Scott Sport. Never mind sports scene. So
Maybe more Scott squad.
Scott Squad, I did it. Uh, aye. So what Collins on holiday? Normally we would give him the dysentery chat, but it's
Hmm.
he's he can't have it that close together. So we'll have to come clean and just say he's sunning himself somewhere hot.
Aye, and that's got
Um,
nothing to do with the change of pace. He's just away. Like
aye.
Colin would be part of this conversation if he was in the country.
Yep. But he has sent us a team, so we're not going to pick a team each. What we'll do is we'll go through Colin's team and then we'll probably just say what we would have done different. But it feels like a big game already, like early in the season. I know, not a big, no, like a must win, no, this kind of stuff. But it feels like a big game, big crowd in that. John, what are you thinking?
I think I remember who was it? Who was the we were playing St Johnstone first game of the season. I forget who was manager. I forget which season it was, but it was in the lifetime of Longbangers. And I remember saying someone huge game today and laughing about it. But I think contextually, the start of the season, I don't think we've had a win at home yet. So it does feel like a large game, let's say,
Hmm.
maybe not a big game, in terms of what we're looking to try and achieve. Which, and I guess every week we're trying to achieve the same thing, which is 3 points or progress to the next round of the competition. Um, but yeah, I think we've still got that buzz around Easter Road where it seems like we've got a good squad. We've had some good results, albeit we severed the relationship with European competition. So people are quite keen to come along and back the team.
Hmm. I quite like that. I like the fact that Easter Road is going to be busy because there is always that risk, especially when, like you said, there's no been necessarily the win. Although I think that's a bit misrepresentative of the situation because we had like like good performances and certainly the Partizan game, to all intents and purposes, felt like a win, didn't it? Like that game because we
Oh,
went
aye.
through. Do you know, like we won the tie on the night, although we never won over the 90 minutes. So I still feel like we have had a win at Easter Road. Although if you were being really pedantic about it, we haven't. We did progress through a tie with the second leg game being Easter Road, and I'm counting that. I think that there's enough good feeling there to carry on into this game.
See, to be honest, like I referenced it because of the context of the game and where we are in the season and what's ahead of us. But when I think about the games, I tend not to think about, oh, we've no won 3 games in a row, or we've no won games at Easter Road this season. It might be slightly different if we were like 6 months down the road and we still hadn't won a game yet. But we're
Aye.
still, what are we, like 5 games in, 4 or 5 games in?
Well, in terms of league games, this is only our third league game of the season, isn't it? So we
Is
had
it? So there you go.
Killie and St Mirren are the ones that we've had at home. Am I right?
And Dundee away.
Dundee away and
Yeah.
Livingston in the cup.
Aye, so it's still early. So those sorts I don't know, it's almost like a fictitious or misleading stat, isn't it?
Aye.
Well, Hibs haven't won at home this season. Aye, but we played 2 games, settled in.
And you'll have folk tying it back to whatever month it was when we last, like they'll include the summer. So I've no
Hmm,
one at home since fucking May, and I will not do that because, like I say,
no.
I'm already doing my heart's day when they twist the stats to not include the derbies that we win. I'm just gonna say we've won games that we haven't necessarily won. Um, so a big game looks like it's going to be a big crowd. This is good. Dundee United, I think, are bringing down a big allocation. What are your thoughts on United? You kind of followed much of what they've been up to this season?
No, as much as I've followed them has been from newspaper headlines or stuff that you've maybe heard through or sorry, read on Twitter or elsewhere. So I think they lined up, was it their first game with an entirely foreign squad, like no
Hmm.
Scots in the starting lineup? Um, I can't, do you know, see, to be perfectly honest, I'm not even entirely sure of their league position. I think maybe Colin mentioned it last week that they're the team below us in the league. So I had a look as preparation for this episode. I did have a look at their last couple of league games to get a sense of what they've been doing, how the results have been. And at a very high level, I'm not sure how much I can take from it. I think they got beaten one and won the other one.
They're a point behind us, so 4 points from 3 games, and we're 5 points with 3 games. But I always get the sense with Dundee United that they will be like there or thereabouts with us. And I sometimes I think like they probably shouldn't be. Go by the same sort of logic that we spend a lot more than they do, and Celtic spend a lot more than us, so we wouldn't expect to be close to Celtic. But I think Dundee United have not been shy in chucking money at the team. They've certainly backed Goodwin. They've just given him a new contract, and I think they're a team that like they just came up last season, didn't they? Like they got promoted and they had their sort of first season back up in the top flight. And I always think like if you start that season well when you've come up, you'll
Hmm.
carry on because you've got the momentum. You're used to winning games from your title winning
Yeah.
season, and I think Dundee United did that. The challenge for them was going to be whether or not they could continue it this season. They've started all right, but I thought Dundee United overachieved last season. I thought we were a much better team than them, and they were um, much closer to us points wise, and I thought their performances deserved. And I think we're still a better team than them now.
I'd love to know. I'd love some analysis to be done across all the leagues over the years and see how accurate it is that promoted teams get a new season bounce. Like I know in the Premiership, for example, that a lot of teams that come up often struggling. It's like a fight for survival.
Yeah.
But it feels like in Scotland at least that teams come up and it's almost like the Premiership teams don't know how to play against the Championship winners. And I think that was maybe reflected in Dundee United's form last year. However, what tends to happen as well, at least in my head, is that those teams in their second season after coming up,
Hmm.
the Premiership teams have started to find them out a little bit. So I'd be curious to see what Dundee United's form looks like for the remainder of the season.
I always think it's good to get one over Jim Goodwin as well. I think he's a sort of panto villain, isn't he? Like he's just one of these. He's a bit of a prick. Like
Is he still? I remember when he was at Dunfermline, if I remember rightly, that he was a panto villain then because I think he was kind of seen as the dirty bastard in midfield.
St Mirren.
Was it St Mirren he was at? Sorry,
Aye.
black and white stripes. Um, but as manager, like I think, I don't know, do we have like a strange affection for Goodwin because of his lonely walk after being sacked at Easter Road?
It's like an iconic moment, featuring another team's player or manager.
Aye, maybe no
Um,
affection, maybe like the sort of like the anti-hero or something like, you know what I'm trying to describe?
I think it's like he's a panto villain. I think that's probably the best way to do it. It's like chasing like the Wicked Witch of the West out the stadium. You know when they get dealt to fuck off and he's having to climb over the advertising boards and get in a wee car and get zoomed away as his chairman
Aye.
cries on the radio.
I maybe just think about him differently because like the panto villain for me in a football sense is like the Robbie Savage or the I don't know the Scott Brown in midfield, like the guy that just constantly winds folk up. Goodwin has never been that manager for me.
Aye, I don't know. It's just something about him I can't take to. Looks like he's part way to being a pirate.
Is it
Do
because
you know?
he's got that silver fox? Is it because he's quite handsome?
What do you think? I'm jealous. Like,
I'm just theorizing.
nah, not at all. Um, what would you expect for Hibs?
But you know, I think I'm expecting an energetic performance. I think they can take the I don't know, take the reins, take the brakes off a wee bit because I wonder if we were trying to keep a little bit in reserve for previous performances. So I think was it the Kilmarnock game where we started off quickly and were doing well,
Hmm.
had a shitey goal just before half time, conceded after the break, and it felt like we were on the back foot in those games. But that was in the midst of that European run. Whereas now we don't have that to look forward to on Thursday, so we can probably look to go at them a little bit more than we might have if we were still progressing in Europe.
And what about the new signings? Do you expect to see anything? So we've got Dan Barlaser and Zach Mitchell, who came in on deadline day, or actually after deadline day in Mitchell's case.
Interestingly, I don't know. I did actually write Barlister's name down earlier as a potential starter in my lineup. Or I've not seen Colin's team, like he shared it earlier, but I've not downloaded the picture to have a review of it. But I would have Barlister in my team potentially, but I don't know where Mitchell plays at this point, subject to injuries or whatever.
Mhm. It's an interesting one because Mitchell did really well at St Johnstone last season. From what I know, anyway, for the St Johnstone fans, I know that they asked about they reckoned that if he'd stayed fit for them, they would not have got relegated. Which is some going because I don't know when he joined them, but if you can manage to keep a Craig Levine side up, um, because Levine was in charge for a good chunk of last season, wasn't it? And then he got the bullet, another guy came in.
If you can give people optimism in a Craig Levine side, like you're doing pretty well.
Aye. Um, right, I'll get Colin's side in a minute. Just catch up on the YouTube comments. Me said hi again, Matty. Afternoon, John. Ian says 4-2. You heard it here first. Chris said gutted to miss last night, but the daft job had me running about mad. Green Teas, afternoon, guys. Dave Graham says don't start that XG pish. Not here, Dave. We're not. You can't do XG in a preview. You need to see it. Like something
No.
needs to happen. You have no. We would be doing XG. We would be trying to guess what the XG would be. So,
Anticipated expected goals.
the A, or that would be the NXG.
Aye.
And we're not going down that rabbit hole. Uh, Euclifer said, afternoon, guys. It's a good attempt at that name. Jeff said, listening, we're walking four dogs in the rain. Good luck with the dogs, Jeff. Mark said, thoughts on Abita being this season's Miller, as in he can bomb forward and work alongside Nicky Cadden. Instead of it being down the right, we do it on the left this season. What do you think about that then, Jordan? Abita, is he the left hand side Lewis Miller?
Potentially, he. I think the I think the bit that I would maybe caution against that is that he had a few more miles on the clock than Miller. So I think sometimes he's a bit more no reserved, but I think he maybe doesn't play the game in a sort of similar, like in a gung ho fashion that Lewis
Mm-hmm.
Miller maybe. What I mean by that is just like the amount of energy. Like he tries to make the most of his runs forward when he's supporting on the overlap, for example. You know, because he also needs to get back and defend afterwards. But I do have him in my lineup on at the back of a three to support Nadine on the left.
Me on YouTube said, Mark, I said this I would love Nicky and Abita to be in the team together, but feel Nicky might end up being benched, and it'd be Jack, Iredale, and Abita. And Callum said, hi guys, been looking at your merchandise and can't see Longbanger's sink gloves. It's the wife's birthday coming up. Sink gloves, John, if you remember, that was for the Wilkinson household, wasn't it? The old. We'll try and get some long bangers sink gloves out to you, Callum, if we can find a manufacturer for them. Kieran says near sellout tomorrow again. Every game has a big game feel now. The difference in a year. I think that's it's a brilliant thing going to Easter Road when it's busy and having that big game feel. And I think it becomes one of these like it's not a self fulfilling prophecy, right? But that kind of idea. Like the more it happens, the more we get used to it being big games, and the more people want to come back to them because it feels good, especially if we win. Like Collins' team, John,
Yes.
goalkeeper Jordan Smith,
Hmm.
three centre halves: Ohora on the right, Bushiri in the middle, and Abita on the left. On the right, so right wing back Mulligan. Then we've got Levitt, Chaiwa, and Nicky Cadden. Jamie McGrath in the sort of 10, and Boyle and Bowie up front.
Sorry, remind me. So you had Milligan right wing back. Who did you have in the centre of
Uh,
midfield?
Levitt and Chaiwa. I mean, it's hard to argue with that team. I think it looks really solid, but there are options. So, what, if anything, would you change for that team, John?
I've got a couple different. So I've got the way that I've set up my team is broadly similar. It's more of a sort of 3-5-2, but you've got Barlaser in the middle, probably is like a number six, is a bit defensive, bit of a tidy upper. Mulligan alongside him or ahead of him to do a bit of the running. McGrath in front of him to do a bit of the number 10 work.
But number
Whichever,
10, and
whichever sort of role you consider the number 10 to
yep,
play, Bowie and Boyle up front. So I've only got a couple of differences there. And the reason that I went for that team, and this isn't a criticism or to say that Collins' team is wrong, because like you say, there's merits in playing it. It's a team that we're familiar with. The reason I went with my team is because I was looking at Dundee United's team, and they have, at least in the last couple of games, looks like they've played a 3-4-3. And I was thinking, well, how do you overcome that? Where do you have the bodies? And the way that I rationalised it in my head was that you probably want one of your midfield to sit in to support the defence when they've got an overload, when they've got an additional. Well, actually, they don't have an additional striker, do they? Because they match up three up front and three at the back. I've just talked myself out my lineup basically,
nah, but
but
they'll
it
have
still
runner
works.
for a midfielder. That's it. I mean, I think it's funny when the systems don't align. Obviously one team's going to have advantages in one area and
Hmm.
disadvantages in the other. Um, what about personnel wise? So, no room for Iredale, no room for Hanley and Collins' team, no room for the two lone guys that came in. So neither Mitchell or Barlaser feature. No Cleege, no Hoylett, no Yuan.
But presumably these guys are all on the bench. Like they might not make the starting lineup, but with the
Mhm.
number of changes that you can make that they come in. So the reason that I hadn't chosen Hanley is because I think he's tended to play. I think he's played maybe one game as a left centre back and another game as a right centre back, but he doesn't offer what Miller used to offer on the right hand side, and he doesn't offer what Obita offers on the left hand side. So, and if you've got Bashiri in the middle, who seems to be doing pretty well in the role that he does, then he's
Mhm.
not like, despite being the was it the 62 cap Scotland Hall of Famer now,
Yeah.
he does. I don't think he immediately gets a start. Um, I'm trying to think of some of the other names that you mentioned there that aren't in the squad, and the
Well,
reasons why
Chris
I
Cadden
never
was the
included them.
other one that I never mentioned Chris Cadden there at all. Now, it's interesting. So Jason said on the comments Mulligan and Naden need to be the starting wing backs. Me said Collins' team was brilliant, which is again sort of acknowledging Mulligan and Naden as the wing backs as well. Um, he says, I think Gray will do Chris and Abita as wing back and be furious if Nick is on our team every week, but I worry he's benched like the end of last season when he lost his place to Abita. Um, Kieran's team was Smith, Naden, Obita, Rocky, Hanley, Chris Cadden, Mulligan, Chaiwa, McGrath, Boyle, and Bowie. Um, I mean, it's about options. What about Mulligan? So on the phone in last night, Ian made a point. He felt that Mulligan hadn't impressed anywhere other than at right wing back. And I thought it was harsh. My opinion of Mulligan is I think he's shown pretty much every game that he's played for us. I think he's had a terrific start to his Hibs career. Where would you favour him at right wing back, John, or would you want to see him in the middle?
I would prefer to see him start in the middle because I think his energy and his how do you put it, his tendency to drive the ball forward. So you see that as well when he's playing right wing back. But I think when we don't have that in midfield, we're not as balance the team because you get a similar level of running from Cadden, where Cadden differs from Mulligan is the types of ball that Cadden tends to play into the box. I think I'd described before that Mulligan isn't the type of player who's going to hit the byline or be whipping it in the cross. He's going to be driving it to the box from a right wing back, not unlike Lewis Miller, actually.
Mm-hmm.
However, by starting Mulligan in the middle, if you find that Cadden's tiring later in the game, you have options off the bench to move Mulligan out there. And I think, based on what we've seen so far, I think that's how Hibs are trying to play on, or are trying to sort of, I don't know what to say, manage the team through games, because that sounds a wee bit like we're short on numbers. But I
Yeah.
think we're trying to sorry, the best way probably to describe it is to try and maximize the output from each of the players, especially where you can complement the positions where you've got options there.
And Chaiwa, he's a starting midfielder. His performance, particularly away in Europe, brought his. I had a great debut against Livingston, then scored that goal in Poland. I thought he never really shone, that weekend when we were back against St Mirren. But is he like a nailed on starter for you?
Not yet. He has had a couple impressive performances. So he looked good against Livy. He looked good in the European game. But like you say, it sort of came back down to earth. No a bump. Like he didn't have a poor game, but he didn't stand out as
Yeah.
much as he had in the previous games. So I think that's where I don't know if it's pragmatism comes in, but like he definitely has like so say for example, like say they start with my team. Like I think he could probably play the Barlaser role,
Mhm.
and that's the substitute, or he could start. Like there's lots of different options there, and it's quite a challenge because I think if we have a couple of difficult games, you're probably going to hear the criticism that Gray doesn't know his strongest starting 11.
Aye. I think it'll be interesting if that criticism comes up because I don't think Gray looks at it as a stronger starting 11 now. I think it's testament to the strength of the squad that, like, I mean, could probably look at 4 or 5 positions there easy, make a change, and I don't think we're dropping the quality of the team at all. They'll give you something a wee bit different, but like we've not talked about Manny. Manny's I think still injured. He could still come in there, but
Mm-hmm.
the two lone guys that we mentioned, we've got another keeper that could come in. We're well
Yeah,
stocked at the like even though it's just Cadden and Mulligan, I think Mitchell can play right wing back as well. So there are now bodies in the positions that give Gray the options, and I think if he's looking at a 90-minute game and using the full squad, he doesn't I don't think we'll have a best starting 11 because we're not going to win the game in 60 minutes. You
yeah.
win the game over 90 minutes, don't you? So, um, right, we'll wrap up. We'll get a couple more comments off of YouTube, and then I'm going to get a score prediction for you, John. So, Martin had mentioned about the full houses. He says to keep the full houses, Hibs need to get consistent results like a big team would. Green Tea said agree. The Johnny come latelys turn too quickly when results go badly. Good point for Kieran here. And the 9-man squad, I think that will be the end of homegrown players being in the squad until January anyway. And I think that's it. Is you're using like the 5 subs and the quality we've got, it's probably going to be harder for the youth players to get through. But that's probably a discussion for us to pick up another time, John. Um, Chris says Barlaser allows Mulligan to right wing back. The new defender doesn't play. Jason said he'd go Hanley at right centre back. Although okay, well, Hora Hanley showed versus Denmark his quality. Martin said agree with Mulligan, still developing, but what an engine. And Craig said, just standing waiting on the flight over from Dublin with the Bairns, 100% record so far for them. So let's hope to keep it up. Yeah, hope they have a great time when they're over, Craig, and see another Hibs win. And Ian says on Gray's previous form, it'll be 6 weeks before Barlaser starts. I mean, Gray doesn't tend to chuck the new boys in straight away, does he? Although he has done it. No mention of Cliche up front as well. That was only the other one I was going to pick up. So we've got Boyle starting. That came up in the phone in last night about whether or not the travel back from international duty might be a factor, and would that be a reason to play Cliche ahead of Boyle, perhaps?
Aye, this maybe ties into something I was thinking about before when we were talking about bodies and competition for places and Gray not having a preferred starting 11. Like it could come down to who impresses in training, who comes back freshest, who plays. So if Boyle didn't start, I wouldn't necessarily be aghast or massively surprised if if you were to see Cliche starting his place. Like I think Cliche, despite the club record fee tag that's been placed upon him, I think it might still be a case of him adjusted. So I think he might be used carefully, like carefully be introduced to the game.
Mhm.
And I think possibly, I think it's been suggested as well that it could be a long-term replacement for Boyle. So, it's how to manage that, and also how to get him into the side and not disrupt things. But again, I guess that goes back to my previous point. Like if Boyle goes off the boil, in comes Cliche as a ready-made replacement.
Yeah. Um, Yuka said, what happens to Newell and Campbell now? They won't get in this team. Green Tea said, remember to hit like, guys. Yes, please do. Chris said, I wonder if we play early off Bowie, as both Clegy and Boyle have had a lot of minutes in travel. And Kieran said, wouldn't be against Clegy playing. He certainly offers the same energy as Boyle. Newell and Campbell, like they did, obviously Newell's been out of contention for a wee while, but Josh Campbell dropped off the radar altogether in that discussion, didn't he? Like we never really considered him at all, and it's no a deliberate thing, but again, I think it just points to the quality of the team. I think Campbell will find it harder to get in there because he's not really nailed down a specific position.
Aye, it's. I think it's almost like it's not the death of the footballer, but it's like when you become the utility man, it's harder and harder to stand out. It's harder and harder
Aye,
to make a position your own, and you probably tend to get more flack when things don't quite go your way.
yeah,
And Campbell's no short of flack coming his way.
totally. I think it's difficult coming into like for players coming in and out of the team. It's difficult to get that sort of momentum up and
Yeah,
show what you can do as well, and it just makes it more and more difficult. Right, John, we're out of time. What's the score going to be on Saturday night?
2-0 Hibs.
2-0 Hibs. And will you be picking up the hoop top?
What hoop top? Has it been hinted at?
Well, it has been mentioned, aye. I mean, it's in the past, and like Hibs have not been shy and shouting about it, but would you get one?
I think I would. I think I would. Would I? Maybe no. I don't know. Like I like the tops the Hibs have done this year, but like I think the white one, as we discussed previously, like is a man with tits. It doesn't suit my frame.
Hmm.
The yellow and the black I like the green. I like the home strip more than the others, especially in the long sleeve version. But a hooped one, I'm not much a strip collector either, and it doesn't feel like something I would wear. So it might, this might depend on what it looks like when it's released. But I can't now that I think about it, I can't see me wandering about with it. I don't tend to wear strips to the football, and I don't
Hmm.
play football anymore, so there's not really many opportunities for me. And I'm not a guy that takes it on holiday either. So
Chris has just asked, will John ever get off the fence?
do you know what, Chris? Honestly, like, see when I get asked a question, it feels like I've got about six different competing voices in my head, and I have to try and like navigate that gauntlet of finding which one.
I hope it's nice
So
material, not the fence, the hoop strip. Like I think that'll be the deciding factor for me. If it's a good material, no like sort of shiny, cheap looking stuff, then uh, aye. And Kieran said Hearts fans are proper triggered by the hoop top, so bring it on. Imagine we wore it at Tiny. Right, that's probably you said 2-0 Hibs, John?
2-0 Hibs.
Aye, I think Hibs will win. I think we'll concede though, so I'll go 2-1. Apologies to Joe who sent it to the team. No good time to pick it up, Joe, but thank you for sending it in. Do let us know what you think of the preview show. It's a slightly different format, like I said, we ditched the screen work, etc. Just went for a bit more relaxed chat. So hopefully you enjoyed that as much as we did, and we'll see you all on Sunday, where we'll be back at the earlier time, 10 o'clock. John,
10 in the morning.
10
Yeah.
and as a one-off, only a one-off this Sunday. We'll be on at 10.
Get your cooked breakfast, your bacon rolls and that, and come and sit and join us with a coffee.
Aye, you'll enjoy it. It'll be worth it. Better than Sunday brunch anyway. Right, catch you later on. Aye, enjoy your Friday.